Hi guys, and welcome back to the retro room. This is the second part of this 486 build series of videos where I'm going to put 4 floppy drives in the machine. If you haven't seen the first video, go back and watch that before this one if you choose to. In this video, we're going to make sure this board works before we stick him in the case. First, this board is going to need a processor. This release arm for the ZIF socket is awfully close to the cast chip, makes it a little hard to get him lifted. Again, we're going to use this AMD 486 DX4100. These sockets are pin specific. They have to go in just one way. The 486 has a little dot in the corner, and also one of the corners looks cut off a little bit. On the socket, it looks like the pin alignment has a few pins missing to symbol the corner cut off, and he very much just drops right in the middle like so. Just drop the arm. The little fan we're going to try out to see if he works. It's kind of a little janky there. Well, we'll stick him on here and see what happens. Clip him around the processor. Seems to be holding pretty well. I'm going to use my bench power supply to test this out. Plug him in. He's going to need some memory. It needs some 72 pin fast page memory. This board will not support EDO memory. Oh, let's see what we got here. I have lots of this memory. That's kind of an oddball with the flat, flatter chips on it. I don't know. We'll find out pretty quick if these are fast page or EDO. Here is a pair that seem to mostly match. They're not exactly alike, but they're pretty close. There are 2 more just like those. Well, again, not just like, but very similar. Kind of have to put these in at an angle. They'll only go in one way. These are notched on one side, and inside here there's like a plastic block on one side where there isn't on the other, so it will only fit in the socket one way. Make sure it's all the way in the socket at an angle, and push forward till it locks in place. Now these are 32, it has a data path of 32 bits, so it will boot off of one stick, but I have lots of this RAM, so we're going to fully populate the board. Plug the power cable in, the power connector on with all the black wires connected, just like so. we'll put a keyboard on. Get our video card, our Diamond Stealth 64 PCI, running the S3 Trio 64 video chip. Pop him in the PCI slot. Plug him into video. And just to see what's going on, we'll put this postcard, which will work in PCI as well as ISA, in there. And we'll connect the speaker to see if it beeps at us, which it probably will. All right, we'll power him on to see if the jumpers are configured right, or to see what's going on. That fan is really noisy. The board is already set up for, if you can see the screen there, AMD 486DX4-S, whatever that means, CPU at 100 megahertz. 56 megabytes of RAM. That's pretty strange. Might need to oil that bearing. What's going on here? Well, it goes into setup. Tests the memory 3 times at boot. Wonder if there's a setting in the BIOS to keep it from doing that. I'm going to give this a moment to see if it does anything. Because we haven't cleared post yet. There it goes. Primary and secondary master hard disk fail and floppy disk fail. Which is fine because I know that's plugged in. Press F1, get past that. And it posts and shows the video card as the one PCI device. All right, let's connect some things to it and see what we can't figure out from him. Turn the power off. First things first, that fan is awfully annoying. Did its job keeping the CPU cool though. I'm going to see if I can't peel this sticker off. For now, let's see if we can't find a better fan. It's dusty underneath that fan. Okay, a bit off camera, I took the fan assembly apart, cleaned out the dust inside this heatsink, and also replaced the fan. This one seems to be quieter. We'll find that out soon enough. Put him back together like so. It pulled the processor out when I took it off the board. We'll drop that processor back on there. And clip him down like so. Seems to fit tighter too. Which is just fine by me. All right, I said we would get this thing booting. Going to use this compact flash adapter. Put it in the primary IDE slot, which I have no idea which one it is on this board. But pin 1 is toward the back of the board here. Well, we'll just put him in 1. We'll have to connect like a floppy power connector to him. Like so. And we'll see if we can't get this 4 gig card working. Just drop him into place. I know you guys couldn't see that. And this is the GoTech I keep on my bench. This particular unit won't end up in this machine, but one just like it will. There's a hair stuck in there. We'll put him down there. We're going to need a floppy cable. All right, I got this darker gray dude here. First, we'll plug him into the drive. Need to make sure the pins are right. Pin 1 is here next to the power connection, which is pretty typical, if not universal, with at least 3.5-inch floppy drives. And we'll plug this onto the board where it goes, because for now we'll use the onboard floppy controller. And another power connection for him. All right, let's see what he does. There's a bit of buzz to that fan, but it's acceptable. It's a whole lot better than that other one. And I am an idiot. I didn't put the power connection on the motherboard. So of course nothing happened. Let's try that again. There it goes. I want to move you guys so you can see the screen a little better. Try to get into setup. Standard CMOS. Drive A is right, the rest of that is not. I don't have that in the right slot. But we'll keep that setting. We're going to run that in normal mode. And we'll save that the way it is. We'll wait through it testing memory 3 times. There's probably no reason this machine needs 56 megabytes of RAM. But I don't care. If it works, it works. Posted a little quicker. And it's booting off the USB stick. It's a Windows 98 boot disk image I have on there. I think from bootdisk.com or some similar site. All right. Let's see what fdisk has to tell us. We'll see what's already on that drive. Interesting. It's saying the total disk space is 504 megabytes, but there are two 1.9-ish, almost 2 gigabyte partitions on it. Let's delete those. See if it fixes things. Okay. I guess I did that wrong. 2 is what I want. Okay. 3, 1, 1. Boot label is, or volume label is boot. Okay. Use maximum available size for primary DOS partition and make the partition active. Yeah, we'll do that. It went awful quick. I wonder if it thinks that's a 500 meg drive. That shows it as a 4 gig drive. Let's wait for him to boot up again, and we'll see what we can come up with. Just as I thought. 503 megabyte. See if we put this in LBA mode, if it acts any different. just like that. That's a message it didn't give before. The whole your computer has a disk larger than 512 megabytes. All right. 13%. Why don't we remove that partition? There is no volume label. We'll just make another one. There it goes, verifying drive integrity. It is essentially a solid state drive. And we'll restart again. We're going to format that drive. We're going to give it the S switch so it makes the compact flash card bootable like a hard drive. The C colon to specify the drive itself. Yes, proceed with format. And that goes pretty quick. Okay, let's see if it boots from that drive. I'm going to pop out the USB stick here, and we'll just restart. Seems to work. See what's on the drive. And it has the whole 4 gigs available. make a directory and just call it DOS. And just copy the contents of this boot disk to that folder. Just like so. When this gets done, I'm going to power off this machine, pop out the postcard, and we will try to get this quad floppy controller working. And he's done. Let's power him off. Pop him out of there. Going to disconnect this floppy cable from the motherboard because it's going to go on this controller in the drive 0 and 1 position, just like so. Then I'm going to need another floppy cable. I found one. I'm going to use a cable that does not have the edge connectors like this one for the 3.5-inch drives, which will be the first 2 drives on the machine. So I'll put this cable, which does have edge connectors, on the drive 2 and 3 connector. Then I will install this cable in the drive 0 and 1 connector. Then we will plug him into the board. Like so. Wanted to give me a little trouble. Then this guy will be drive A, because it's past the twist here. Drive B will be this drive, which needs a little bit of cleaning, but we're not going to worry about that at the moment. And again, pin 1 is near the power connector. It's actually labeled on the bottom, pin 1, it says 33 and 34 over there on the other side of that connector. So plug him in so. He will need power. That's what this little adapter is for. That was giving me a little trouble. There we go. Then this will be floppy, I guess, number 2, the third one in the chain. Which means he needs to go on the side with the twist. And while the drive is keyed, my connector isn't. So I'm going to have to find where pin 1 is on here. And again, it's toward the power on this drive. So we'll pop on like so. Nice, satisfying pop on that one. And the 4th drive will be this guy. He's significantly heavier than his newer counterpart. And he goes on opposite this other one. Running out of cable length there. Going to have to move these drives around because they need power. There's a power connection. He's connected. This needs power. And he's connected. Let's see if we can't lay him down. Okay. That's precarious and a mess all over my bench, but it should work. Let's power this on and set some things in the BIOS. He's not booting. We'll pop that quad floppy controller out. Probably a conflict with the onboard floppy controller. Onboard floppy controller we'll set to disabled. We'll save. Now that he's saved, we'll reinstall this card and we'll see if he boots. Apparently not. The card is flashing a message. It just says quad floppy adapter. It's not an error message of any kind. The drives tested, but I'm getting no video. I think we have an address conflict on here. Let's power him off. The address says the default is C000 through C7FF with R1, 2, and 3 on. R1, 2, and 3 are on. Let's set it to the next one down, the C800 through CFFF, by turning R3 off. I'm just shooting in the dark here, but it seemed to be working, just wasn't showing video. Now we have video. Here, let's get you up there so we can see it. Doesn't look any different. Let's make sure everything is how I had it set. Floppy controller is disabled, but drive A and B are set. We'll go ahead and save that. Let it go through its memory test and boot, and we'll see what happens. Well, it's working as far as those two. F2. I missed my chance. Let's reboot. It has a software configuration utility. Multi-floppy BIOS configuration utility. Hit H for help. Let's add a floppy drive. Physical drive number, let's do 3. Two. The last one on the chain is a 360K drive, so we'll put 1, add 2, three. It's a 1.2 meg drive. Okay. Print current configuration settings. Drive 0, 1.44 meg, 3.5 inch. Number 0 on floppy controller 1. Drive 1. .25 meg, 5.25 on controller 1. Drive 2. 360K. Okay, they're not configured properly. go to E. I don't know. Let's delete all of them. Okay. No drives. Add inner number. We'll do the primary first. Physical drive number 0. Logical drive number 0. Oh, it is that one. Add 1. It's drive number 1. Logical drive number 1. And it's 1.44 meg. Add secondary. It's drive 2. Logical drive number 2. And that is my 1.2 meg drive, which is also 2. We'll add secondary. This is drive 3, 3, and 1. We'll hit W to save it. 0, 1.44 meg, 1.44, 1.2, and 360K. As it prints all across the screen there. Press any key to reboot. If this sets up this easy, this is fantastic. And it looks like it's very capable of setting up in any number of configurations, where you can even swap floppy positions on the system from one setting to another. I hit escape to do away with that splash screen. He's being a little slow. Let's let him cool down. Moving the compact flash to IDE adapter to the other controller on the board. Let's see what happens from a cold boot. Test the first 2 drives. Had to set up the hard drive. The BIOS didn't know where to look for the hard drive to boot, which is probably why it was hanging before. There we go. that Windows 98 splash screen. Apparently does that even from a Windows 98 boot disk. I'm going to give that a minute, see if it does anything at all. Alright, this thing might be running into some sort of issue with the other two drives on here, so we'll see. I have disconnected that, and we'll see if it boots properly with only these two drives attached. Seems to be doing something. It woke the display up. And it tested the drives. The BIOS on the card is still picking up the second. Well, the BIOS on the card is still configured to have drives 2 and 3, and I have to go in and remove those. So now we just have drive 0 and 1 on there. We'll write that to the ROM, and then we'll restart and see what happens. If this doesn't work, I'm going to assume there's something amiss with the ROM itself. But it does work. I suppose the ROM works just fine. Well, let's power this off and try something a little silly. This is supposed to work as a secondary floppy controller. I'm going to set it back to its original address and set its I/O selection to the secondary address, which is just with all the switches on. Then I will plug the floppies back into the motherboard. When I power him back on, I'll re-enable that. Re-enable that controller. Then I'll plug these drives into the first position for drive 0 and 1 on this controller. Let's power him on and see what happens. Apparently nothing. Maybe that address isn't working for us. We'll set it back down and hope it doesn't conflict with the onboard floppy controller. Because apparently that first address is conflicting with the video card. Chipset features setup. We'll re-enable that. We'll save and go from there. It's going to run its memory test extensively. Go through that whole thing 3 times, then it tests the floppy drives. Seems it booted just fine with these drives connected. Let's see if there's a drive D. No. I don't know why I'm in F-disk. There's no reason to be in there. I just need a driver to be able to access these other drives. I have one downloading now. Once that downloads, we'll go through some configuration and things on how to set these drives up. Alright, while the drivers were downloading, I did a little playing around with these guys and realized that, once again, I was kind of an idiot. One of these cables wasn't on properly, and the power connection on this 1.2 megabyte hard drive wasn't on all the way, so it was trying to find a drive that wasn't powered on enough to do anything. And my 1.44 meg drive that I had, if you notice this is a different one, just decided to not work anymore. But let's power him on and we'll see what happens. I don't have the drivers on here yet. Probably won't need them. I'm going to press escape just to bypass that memory test. It tested the drive. Now that I have the cables on right and have everything, you can see the configuration there. Seems to work fine, except it spins the third floppy drive, which is this 360K drive here, for a little while it boots. For some reason. Then this drive does a little unga, and then it boots right up. There is no other hard drives or a CD-ROM drive in this machine, so this drive, if configured properly, should end up as drive D. You can see it spinning, the LED's on, and there's a disk in the drive. Pull a directory on that disk. Looks like it's a boot disk of some sort. Compact DOS is the volume ID. Looks like it reads just fine. Let's pop that disk out of there. Kind of want to keep that one. It has no label. And let's try drive E, which is the supposed to be a 1.2 meg drive. This is a double density or double-sided high density disk, which would be 1.2 megabytes. It's a little dusty on the top of it. All right. I cleaned the heads on this drive, and we'll see if he reads. General failure. He's sure trying though. Well, let's try the same 360K disk that we had in the other drive in here. Maybe that's a 360K 5 1/4. I'll have to look into that. Pulled a directory listing without any trouble. And A and B are these two. If we go to B, it has a disk in it already. And it comes up without any trouble. And A is the GoTech. If it will wake up, and it should pull a directory listing off of that too. And he did. This is another 360K disk. I'm going to put it in what we call drive D. See what's on it. That Fujitsu drive is just a trooper. Let's see what's on that disk. S-Store. I don't necessarily need that. And it recognizes it as a floppy. It wouldn't do that without insert new diskette for drive D and press enter when ready. Had a little trouble there. It's got a few bad sectors. That's okay. We're going to try to copy the disk in what it's calling drive E to drive D. Both drives are going now. It's having a little trouble. But it seems like it's copying. And the drive's reset. Let's go back to D drive. Then to E. And it's the same listing. Well, we got the quad floppy controller figured out. I'm going to stop this video here. In the next video, I'll be putting all this stuff in a case and doing some final testing. Well, thank you for joining me in this video, and I hope you have a good day.